Marvel Comics is no stranger to creating characters who are essentially just clones of their well-known prominent characters. These are usually just a mashup of two characters having a child together, and out pops another character who may be a little bit more OP than both their parents combined, or slightly weaker, or just cooler all around. Sometimes this can be a hit or a miss. Characters like X-23 are obviously one of the well-known characters who are damn near carbon copies of their predecessors, but have their own unique thing about them that make them cool to a lot of fans. But today, I'm talking about a very special character, the offspring of one of the more prevalent, prominent characters in Marvel Comics, and one of my favorite characters in Marvel Comics, Blade, and his daughter, Bloodline, aka Brielle Brooks. Let's get into it.
You're now watching The Captain.
Brielle Brooks is the biological daughter of the well-known character Blade, the Daywalker, the vampire hunter, the all-around badass. So before I get into it, I got the idea to cover Brielle from a good friend of mine, Dr. Kaori9. You've seen her on the channel before. If you're a big fan of comics and want to know more about comics, not just being DC or Marvel, go check out her channel. I'll have it linked in somewhere in the video, for usually in the description below. But she covered Bloodline, and I had to check this character out. So essentially, Brielle is the love child of Blade, the Daywalker, and another character that we come familiar with in the story, Saffron Coulter, probably butchering her name. She, as far as I know, isn't a prominent character in Marvel Comics. As far as I know, I haven't seen her in too many other things outside of this. Maybe she's prevalent in some other independent solo Blade runs, but essentially Saffron met up with Blade and was a vampire hunting duel with him for a good bit of time, and they even settled down and retired and had Brielle. Brielle being the love child of those two, Saffron is a full-blooded human being. Blade obviously being a half-breed, being half vampire, half human being. This makes Brielle a quarter vampire. Quick maths. Brielle being a quarter vampire, she essentially gets most of the abilities that her father has, if not all of them, being the enhanced strength, agility, speed, reflexes, and just senses all around. Most of the things that vampires get in the MCU, not MCU, but vampires get in Marvel. In addition, she's also a Daywalker like her father. The thing that makes her a little bit more unique in how her powers differ is that during the daytime, her powers are weaker to non-existent, and she's essentially just a peak level human being in regards to strength, agility, and all that good stuff. But during nighttime is when her abilities are fully let loose and fully manifested. She suffers from the same blood berserker rage that her father does whenever she goes without blood. So she has to take a similar formula that her dad takes in the comics and in the movies that allows her to control that blood rage. And that's pretty much it as far as her abilities go. Her abilities don't really differ from her father's too much, and she's pretty much a carbon copy in those regards, but she differs in some couple of the ways that we're going to get into. Like I said before, Blade and Saffron met up and were a vampire hunting duo for a minute, fell in love, and had their precious little love child. For a while, Blade retired from vampire hunting and sought to raise his child like a normal, supportive, strong black father would. But because of the fact that he had a lot of strong enemies that would still be looking for him and other vampires that would still be trying to hunt him and his family, he had to leave and continue hunting vampires as to not draw any kind of aggro toward Brielle or Saffron. But on his way out the door, though, he called in a favor from his good friend Dr. Strange, who cast a spell on Brielle to essentially mask her abilities from being sensed from other people throughout the different parts of the world, and potentially suppress her powers altogether, because once there's some kind of other side of it tie-in that caused Dr. Strange to die and pass away, obviously the spell was lifted, and it seemed like due to that spell being lifted, Brielle's powers finally manifested when she's around, I believe, like 13, 14, maybe like 15, 16. In the book, I think she's in high school, so she's probably around that age demographic. She's definitely a teenager, though. But to further hide her from the rest of the world, Blade moved her to Atlanta, and in the way some of the vampires talk about it, Atlanta isn't a big hub for vampires apparently, but then there's still nests around, so I don't understand why Atlanta was the prime destination for retirement, but I digress. We pretty much pick up on Brielle living a regular high school lifestyle in which she is quirky, funny teen with her friends, but we open up on a story in which she is defending her friend Jalen from a vampire inside of a club, because for whatever reason vampires are just openly walking around being vampires in Atlanta. So if you see a vampire in Atlanta, check off. But she essentially is starting to come into her own abilities. She realized that she was exceptionally strong playing softball, being on the softball team, swinging the baseball bat and that bat shattering in her hands upon swinging it. So she had an idea of how strong she was. And it looks like she kind of has an innate instinct of how to murder vampires, because in her first encounter with the vampire that's trying to murder her, she immediately picks up on the fact that her silver bracelets are something that injures that vampire, and takes the silver bracelets, combines them with a game controller, and proceeds to beat the hell out of the vampire. So I guess it's just in the Blade bloodline to murder these blood-sucking vamps, I guess, but I digress. Moving forward into the story, she's obviously met by a new student that's coming into the school named Whitney, and Whitney is soon found out to be another vampire hunter like her father, like Blade. Whitney voices that she was a orphan who was taken in by another vampire hunter and has this really big hatred for vampires and monsters alike. Like, she just cannot stand them. She ran across Brielle in a vampire nest, and she, and rightly so, saw Brielle as being a vampire and tried to murder her immediately. And it was not trying to hear no conversation about it, even though Brielle was like consistently on the back burner, on her defensive. We soon to find out that Whitney was taken in by a clone of Deacon Frost. For people that don't know who Deacon Frost is essentially the vampire who bit Blade's mother when she was pregnant and giving birth to Blade, causing him to turn into a half vampire, half human. So he's kind of his father in a sense. But they pretty much went through the whole simple formula of pulling up past villains that are kind of similar to the main villains of Blade or the parent, and kind of making that the thing that the kids had to get over. Moving forward in the story is pretty cut and dry. Blade comes back because Brielle's powers are awakened. He decides to train Brielle on how to be a vampire hunter so she's not weak, because Brielle is in that same vein of like a Miles Morales, in which she has a sense of responsibility in her abilities and she wants to be a vampire hunter just like her father. Her dad, being smart and just trying to push her away and hide her from being a vampire or the vampire world, continues to train her for the next couple weeks on how to fight and just control her abilities so she can be a very effective vampire hunter and protect herself. In doing this, obviously, Brielle, on top of her abilities being strong, having quick reflexes, having enhanced senses and things of that nature, she now, under the tutelage of her father, is pretty well versed in martial arts and hand-to-hand combat, and has become a relative master with that of a katana, just like her father. To me, it's a guilty pleasure. I love katanas, love swords. You can never go wrong with a good sword. After this training concludes, you have like little sweet moments throughout it. Throughout the training, you have little cute moments where Brielle and Blade are having fancy, witty dialogue back and forth that you would kind of imagine with a father and a teenage daughter. Like when they first meet initially, they have a little interaction regarding what Brielle was going to call him, because in both of their heads, they're pretty much strangers to one another. So Blade's like, hey, you can just call me Eric or whatever you want to call me. She's like, I'm gonna just call you Pops. Well, she calls him Pops for a joke, but obviously she does not enjoy that. And they have different moments like that. To finish up their training montage, I guess they went through, it ends with Blade gifting her her own leather jacket similar to his. And it's a whole thing. They're cute together. They're cute. I enjoyed the witty banter between those two, and I hope we get more of their interaction in the Blade Bloodline stuff that's coming out in May. But yeah, once the training montage is over with, Deacon proceeds to just kidnap Brielle's mom and do evil villain shit, and is trying to perform some kind of ceremony. It seems like he's trying to perform the same ceremony that you see Deacon Frost in the movie perform, as far as utilizing Blade's blood to give all the other vampires some form of immortality or the ability to daywalk so they can be stronger. But for whatever reason, that just doesn't work, and Blade is like consistently making fun of this Deacon Frost. If I didn't mention it before, this Deacon Frost is the clone. Deacon Frost is the clone, is one of the many clones apparently created by Hydra to, for whatever reason, I didn't read that art, so I can't tell you why they did it, but they sat to create a bunch of Deacon Frost clones, and he's one of the ones that just was never found, I guess, which is very convenient, so we could have a main villain for the story that's very reminiscent to the stuff that Blade had to go through initially. But I digress even further. But yeah, like Brielle, in a nutshell, is very cool to me. She's different. I enjoy the aspect of her having more of a personality than Blade. Blade's more kind of stoic, and he has like some snippy banter in the comics. She's more of like a Miles Morales version Blade, for lack of a better term. She cracks jokes. She has a very colorful personality, which is showcased by her hair. Which, side note, I want to talk about this. It's pretty apparent she's wearing a wig. At one point in the comic, she's like knocked out from whatever reason, like training or being kidnapped. I can't remember what it was. She's knocked out. She wakes up when she first meets Blade. You can see like her hair braided, her natural hair braided in a protective hairstyle that women usually wear when they're wearing wigs, and her hair is black. So it's pretty apparent that she's wearing like a purple or pink wig in the comic. But we see her get snatched or pinned or grabbed by this wig by vampires multiple times and like thrown across the ring, and that wig does not move whatsoever. I don't know who's putting down the vibranium glue, wig glue in Atlanta, but you do this in real life, you're making a killing, because that wig was... All jokes aside, yeah, Brielle's dope. She has a design that's pretty simplistic. Like, imagine your stereotypical black girl teenager in Atlanta, where she would wear regular top, pair of jeans, and now she has the black leather jacket her father gave her, and she carries around some stakes and some other weapons traditionally used by Blade, as well as her own katana now. Hopefully during the blood hunt stuff, she gets more of a badass attire, because as much as I love the simplistic attire that you would see from her or like a Miles Morales in the first movie, there's something to having that special superhero costume. I think that just makes you a little bit more badass. Maybe a pair of shades. I think that'd be kind of cool for her. She's already a carbon copy of Blade, so we might as well lean into it and just try to give her some, like, keep her unique quirkiness, but make her look a little bit more reminiscent and badass in general. I enjoy her so far. Again, it's nothing super crazy or super innovative in regards to her as a character and how she differs from her father, but I just thought it was cool to have something fresh and a fresh take, and her interactions with her father to be very positive and not anime-ish, to where her parents just tragically murdered or she has this hate feud or whatever else. Like, she has a pretty healthy childhood, and that being said, she interacts around Atlanta with different heroes or different people, very similar to Miles Morales or Spider-Man, where you can have that bubbly team. So I enjoy that. She's been on a couple teams. I think she was on some team that Moon Knight put together that, if you get the novelization of the book, of her first 5 issues, in the back of that, it has like a snippet of that team up where she's interacting with like a ghost. But hopefully we'll see a lot more Brielle Brooks in the upcoming Blade Blood Hunt arc that's about to take over Marvel for the next couple months. And I'm going to be covering that religiously on this channel. So if you guys want to see more videos like that, in which I kind of give a synopsis of the story and review each issue, come check it out here. I'm going to be enjoying this. I haven't kept up with the current run of Marvel Comics in quite a while, and I thought this would be perfect. I'm a big horror fan, I'm a big Blade fan, and this just seems like the perfect place for me to dive back into and cover all this stuff. So be sure to be checking out content starting May. I think I'll probably try to get the video recorded May 1st, the day the comic comes out, so I can knock this stuff out. Again, if you guys are a fan of Brielle, let me know in the comments below. If you're not and think she's just a carbon copy, you don't enjoy those carbon copies, cool, to each their own. Let me know that in the comments below as well. But again, this has been Captain Diesel in the dojo, and I will see you guys next time for another video. Peace.
You're now watching the Captain.